In the quiet heart of a sleepy town, nestled among the rows of quaint family homes and charming local shops, there was one store that always seemed to catch the eye of passers-by. It was an old toy shop, its windows filled with an array of colorful, handcrafted toys. But among these, one particular toy had recently soared in popularity. Puppy, a blue stuffed puppy with distinctive white stripes on its belly. Its sudden demand had pushed the toy into mass production, filling the shelves of stores far beyond this small town. In one such home, tucked away on a dimly lit street, lived a young boy named Sam. Sam's world was far from the warmth and joy that filled the toy shop. His home was a place of shadows and whispers, a place where laughter seldom found a foothold. His parents, burdened by their own demons, often left Sam to fend for himself, their parenting teetering between neglect and outright hostility. It was on a particularly bleak evening, with the sound of a thunderstorm grumbling in the distance, that Sam found Puppy sitting on his threadbare bed. There was no note, no indication of who might have left it there. But in that moment, Sam didn't care. The stuffed animal's bright blue fur and the comforting weight of its plush form offered a stark contrast to the grayness of his room and his life. Holding Puppy close, Sam felt a sense of reassurance, a fleeting warmth in his otherwise cold world. As days turned into weeks, Sam and Puppy became inseparable. The stuffed animal was a silent witness to the boy's struggles, its stitched smile a constant in a sea of uncertainty. But something began to change as the nights grew longer and the shouting from downstairs grew louder. Puppy's once soft and inviting fur began to feel coarse to the touch, its comforting weight turning oddly heavy as darkness fell. One stormy night, as Sam cowered under his thin blanket, the air in his room grew thick with an unspoken menace. Lightning flashed, casting a brief, stark light across the room. In that ephemeral glow, Sam saw Puppy's transformation for the first time. Its once cute and benign features twisted into something grotesque and terrifying. Its eyes, previously little black beads, now glowed with a malevolent red light. Sharp, jagged teeth protruded from its mouth, and its soft whimpers turned into low, menacing growls. Frozen in horror, Sam could only watch as Puppy slowly moved off the bed, its movements deliberate and predatory. The storm outside raged on, mirroring the chaos about to unfold within the house. The sounds from downstairs changed from angry shouts to screams of terror, then to something wet and dreadful, a sound like fabric being torn apart. When the dawn broke, casting a pale light through the dirty window, Sam's house was silent. He crept downstairs, each step creaking under his weight. The living room was a scene from a nightmare. The furniture was upended, the wallpaper torn, and amidst the chaos, unmistakable signs of an unspeakable act. But there was no sign of his parents. In the midst of the destruction sat Puppy, its blue fur now dark and matted, but in its usual inanimate form. Around its stitched mouth, a dark stain had spread, like the shadow of a sinister grin. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving a deceptive calm over the small town. But within the walls of the house on Elm Street, a much darker storm had just begun to rage. As the dawn broke over the silent house on Elm Street, casting its pale light through the windows and illuminating the remnants of the night's horror, the world outside remained unaware of the darkness that had unfolded within. The storm had passed, leaving behind a deceptive calm that belied the terror that had gripped the heart of a young boy named Sam. But as one story seemed to reach its haunting conclusion, another was just beginning to unfurl in the heart of the same small town, under the same deceptive calm. Mia lived not too far from Sam, in a house that, like his, harbored its own shadows. Shadows that lurked not in the corners of rooms, but within the people who called it home. Mia's life, much like Sam's, was a silent scream for warmth in a world grown cold with neglect. Her parents, lost in their own cycles of despair and disinterest, sought to bridge the ever-widening gap between them with material gifts, a bandage over a wound too deep to heal. On a day that seemed no different from any other, Mia's parents brought home a gift they hoped would light up her world. a puppy toy, identical to the one that had brought both comfort and terror to Sam. Little did they know, the darkness that had begun to spread from that old toy shop in the heart of town had now found a new home. Mia felt an instant unease as she took the toy from her parents' hands. Its vibrant blue fur and distinctive white stripes should have brought her joy, but instead, a chill ran down her spine. At night, that unease turned into outright fear. Puppy, like some twisted chameleon, transformed in the moonlight, its playful features morphing into something sinister, something hungry. The transformation was not just in its appearance. The air around it thickened, pulsing with a malevolent energy that seemed to feed on the darkness within her home. Mia tried to convince herself it was all in her head. Toys were just toys. They didn't change. They didn't watch you with glowing, malevolent eyes. Yet, denial could not shield her from the truth that crept into her room each night, nor from the events that would soon unfold. It was on a night much like any other, with the house wrapped in silence and shadows, that the terror Puppy harbored within its stuffed form was unleashed. Mia awoke to an oppressive silence, the kind that felt heavy with anticipation. The darkness of her parents' room, the door left ajar, seemed to swallow all hope, leaving in its wake a silence too deep to be natural. Morning light revealed a home untouched on the surface but hollowed out by absence. Mia's parents were gone, vanished without a trace, leaving behind more questions than the small town was prepared to face. The police found nothing but a scene that spoke of unspeakable fears and a struggle that left no survivors, except for Mia and the innocuous blue toy that sat amongst her belongings, its stitched smile a silent testament to the night's horrors. As Mia was taken from the only home she had ever known, her last glimpse was of Puppy, sitting silently on her bed, watching her with eyes that saw too much. The toy's presence, once a source of unease, now felt like a lingering goodbye from a nightmare she hoped to never revisit. As Mia was ushered away from the remnants of her life, her final glance back at Puppy was a mixture of fear and relief. The toy that had been her comfort, and then her nightmare, remained perched on the edge of her bed, its stitched eyes seemingly following her every move. The terror that had unfolded in her home was now a part of the town's whispered legends, joining the unsettling saga that began with Sam. Yet, the ominous tale of Puppy was far from over, its dark thirst unquenched, reaching out to entangle another soul in its shadow. Alex lived in a world painted in shades of loneliness, his vibrant imagination dimmed by the stark reality of his home life. His parents, entangled in a ceaseless dance of discord and neglect, left Alex to navigate the turbulent waters of his childhood alone. His voice, small and pleading, often went unheard, swallowed by the storm of their indifference. The day Puppy came into Alex's life was like any other, draped in the cloak of his parents' latest quarrel. The toy, a seemingly innocent plush puppy with eyes like sapphires and fur the color of the night sky, was handed to him by well-meaning hands during a school charity drive. To Alex, Puppy was not just a toy. It was a friend, in a world where friendship was a rare treasure, a silent companion in the long, lonely hours of the night. But as autumn's breath turned colder and the nights claimed more of the day, a sinister chill crept into Alex's room. The once comforting presence of Puppy began to shift, morphing into something foreboding as the sun dipped below the horizon. Its soft blue fur seemed to darken, absorbing the scant moonlight that filtered through the curtains, and its playful demeanor twisted into something unnerving. The transformation of Puppy was no longer a secret whispered in the corridors of school or hidden in the shadows of children's rooms. It was a palpable terror that lived with Alex, watching him with glowing red eyes that pierced the darkness. The toy, which had once been a beacon of hope, now harbored a darkness so profound it echoed the tumult within his own home. One night, as the familiar cacophony of his parents' anger reverberated through the house, a terrifying realization dawned on Alex. The stories, the warnings he had dismissed as the fabrications of overactive imaginations, were true. Puppy was not just a toy. It was a guardian cloaked in darkness, a protector whose methods knew no bounds. The night the storm came, both literal and metaphorical, was the night everything changed. Alex's parents vanished, swallowed by the night, leaving behind a silence more deafening than their constant battles. In the aftermath, as the dawn painted the sky in hues of grief and uncertainty, Puppy sat quietly, its duty as both protector and destroyer fulfilled. As the town awoke to whispers of another disappearance, another home wrapped in the shadows of unspoken terror, the pieces began to come together. As the unsettling pattern of disappearances tied to the enigmatic puppy toy began to cast a shadow over the once peaceful town, Detective Harris found himself at the center of an investigation that seemed to transcend the boundaries of logic and reason. Each case bore the same hallmark: a child from a troubled home, a blue stuffed puppy toy with white stripes, and parents who vanished without a trace, leaving behind a scene of inexplicable chaos. The latest incident at Alex's home only deepened the mystery. The boy, found alone and in shock, clung to the toy as if it were his lifeline, his eyes haunted by sights no child should ever witness. The patterns were too consistent, too bizarre to be mere coincidence, and yet every logical explanation that Harris pursued led to dead ends. Determined to peel back the layers of this mystery, Harris embarked on a journey through the town's heart, retracing the steps of the toy's path from one household to the next. His investigation brought him to the doorsteps of those who had witnessed the toy's unsettling effects firsthand, from frightened neighbors who spoke of chilling screams in the night to the surviving children, each sharing tales of Puppy's protective yet terrifying presence. But it was the visit to the old toy shop that left Harris with more questions than answers. The shop, with its cobwebbed corners and aisles of dusty toys, seemed untouched by time. The shopkeeper, a reclusive figure with knowledge as vast as the mysteries that surrounded him, offered no insight into Puppy's origins, speaking instead in riddles and warnings of ancient guardians and protectors of the innocent. With each step forward, Harris felt himself drawn deeper into a web of ancient secrets and unspoken fears. The town's archives, filled with yellowed papers and forgotten lore, whispered of similar occurrences dating back generations, of protectors emerging in times of great need, their forms adapted to the age's beliefs and fears. Yet, there was no mention of a toy, no legend of a stuffed puppy that guarded the town's most vulnerable. As Harris stood at the crossroads of myth and reality, he realized that the key to understanding Puppy's true nature lay not in uncovering its origins, but in accepting its existence as a protector, a guardian that transcended the bounds of the physical world, emerging in times of crisis to shield those too weak to protect themselves. The investigation reached a critical point when another child, clutching a puppy toy, was found alone. Her parents disappeared as if swallowed by the night. Harris, faced with the undeniable pattern of events, made a decision that would alter the course of the investigation. Recognizing the impossibility of combating a force that operated beyond the grasp of conventional law enforcement, he chose instead to focus on the children, ensuring their safety and placing them in environments where the darkness of their homes could no longer reach them. As the town grappled with the lingering fear and the unexplained mysteries that had unfolded, Harris found himself standing on the precipice of the unknown, where the line between protector and predator blurred. The case remained officially unsolved, the files locked away, destined to become part of the town's hidden lore. But the legend of the blue puppy toy, the guardian known as Puppy, lived on, whispered among the children and feared by those who harbored darkness within. And as the town slowly returned to its peaceful slumber, the shadow of the protector lingered, a silent vow that no harm would befall those innocent souls as long as the guardian watched over them. In the quiet of the night, as the moon cast its silver light over the town, a new family moved in, carrying with them the hopes of a fresh start. And among their belongings, unnoticed and unassuming, lay a blue stuffed puppy toy, its white stripes gleaming in the moonlight, ready to continue its ageless vigil.